Okay, so this is a video on how can I tell if this is a Hoover, right? Or if he's truly sorry. So I think a lot of victims, they want to hold on to that hope that this person is truly sorry, that they're not a narcissist, right? That their behavior is fixable and workable and that they can change into this amazing person. We've all seen stories on TV where this person's had this really shady past of like cheating and lying and stealing, and they've turned this new leaf. Knowing what I know now about narcissism and this type of behavior, I would say probably that the vast majority of those stories are not true, that the person has just gotten better at hiding their behavior, would be my guess. Or their victim has just gone into further denial. So a lot of people really don't want to know the truth. And so there was a guy that I dated in high school. Okay, this shows this point. And he was one of my, I don't know, it's like the second or third guy I ever dated. I was so in love with him. He was so nothing but trouble. I cannot believe that my mom ever let me date this guy. But I guess I'm not like blaming her for that. That was, just kind of wild to think. But he was nothing but trouble. I mean, he was in and out of jail. He was a total, antisocial or psychopath is what they call him now. But totally awful. And he had said to me once, and I'm not even sure what the situation was, I'm sure it was some form of like lying and stealing and cheating. And I had confronted him about it, and he looks at me and he says, well, what are you going to believe? Me or your own eyes? And I believed him. That was the kicker. Like, how crazy is that? I chose to believe him. So a lot of victims get into that. That's so embarrassing to admit, but it's true. I mean, you get into this where you really want to believe everything that they're telling you, because to know that it's going to be anything other than that means that you're going to have to get them out of your life, and that's really, really hard, right? It's hard to be single. It's hard to kind of start over. It's hard to go through a divorce. It's hard to do all those things. So how can you tell if it's a Hoover versus a true apology, a true sincere apology, and they're really wanting to change? The answer is time. Give them time. So don't take them back right away, right? Because here's a narcissist, okay? If they're a narcissist or an antisocial, they have this blinding sense of entitlement, a jaw-dropping level of selfishness, right? So when they get caught with the behavior, they really expect for you to just listen to their words, because that's what they're so used to getting away with, right? Because their actions are terrible. They're really not getting away with their actions. They're getting away by using their words. Right? It's like a smoke and mirrors kind of thing, right? So if let's say they cheat, right? So they might say like, well, I told you I was sorry, right? I told you I was sorry 3 days ago. Like, what more do you want from me? And, they want to pick up right where they left off. Like, they expect to still sleep in the same bed as you. They expect to stay in the same house. They expect to not be inconvenienced or troubled or put out in any way. And now it's your problem because you're not moving forward, even though this just happened last week, right? So that's not normal behavior right there, right? Like, that's a huge degree of entitlement. And normal people don't have that. Normal people, if a normal person cheats, they are truly repentant. They will do whatever it takes to make things right. They will probably offer to tell you the full story as many times as you want to hear it, which isn't helpful, but sometimes victims, we all want to know exactly play by play what happened. They will also offer to live a life of total transparency. Here is my phone. Here are my emails. You can check in on me at work. You can do whatever you need to do, because they will admit that they have destroyed trust in that relationship, and they're willing to do whatever you need to do in order to rebuild it. A narcissist will not give you this. They feel totally entitled to, have their privacy and to live their life. And in a large part, it's because they probably have more than one person on the hook, right? So they're always lining up different sources of supply. And they don't want you to find that out, because they only ever admit to the bare minimum, right? So if you'd walked in on him and his girlfriend at your house, right, then they're going to admit to that, but they're going to say, oh, it was just that one time. But if you were to actually go through their email or through his phone, you'd find out, oh no, this was like the 100th time, and this has been going on for 2 years. So they don't want you to find that out, because the more you find out, it's exhausting for them, Really is what it is. The more you find out, the more they're going to have to lie, the more they're going to have to try to, it's expend all this energy on creating these stories and trying to just smooth things out with you. And they don't really feel like they should have to. And that's, of course, then it all goes back to the blame game of, well, my behavior is somehow your fault, right? You weren't ever home, or you'd gained weight, or you'd lost weight, or we weren't having enough sex, or it's this other woman, she threw herself at me, or I was drinking, or, right? There's not a lot of accountability there. So if you're trying to determine if it's a true Hoover, it really, if you've gone through this before with the person, right? If it's the same type of behavior, if it's cheating, lying, stealing, or even addiction, if you keep going through this and they're not changing, or the change isn't like holding, right? Then you're dealing with a person who's not ready to change at the end of the day. And to really hang on to that hope that this highly manipulative person is going to continue, that they're ever going to change, is really just throwing your life away. And who knows what else they are up to. You've caught them in this one thing, but what else is there? So, you can give them time. I would say if you really want to find out if they're truly sorry, give them time and just say, okay. If you're truly sorry, then the next 4 months, maybe even 6 months. Here's the thing. You take back that power and control. That is going to enrage them, because they feel that they shouldn't have to be inconvenienced. Yes, they had this bad behavior. God, that was so last week or last month. They're over it, so you need to be too. But the reality is, no, you are the one that's thinking straight here. They're the highly manipulative person. This game now is played based on your rules and your conditions. So if it was me, I really wanted to see if this person was going to change, I would say, okay, you know what? You need to go find another place to live. And for the next maybe 4 months, maybe 6 months, maybe even a year, I want you to go to counseling, and I want you to go on a weekly basis, and I want to be able to talk to your counselor, and I want to be able to do some couples counseling, and I want to be able to see everything that's in your phone. I want to have total access on your phone, and I want to see your email, and I want to pop in at work, because right now I don't trust you, and I need to be able to trust you to have you back in my life. A narcissist would never have that, would never ever have that. Or a clever narcissist would maybe tolerate that for like a week or two, but then keep pushing you to let them back in the house. And then the love bombing would go on in like full force, right? So, hoovering isn't real. Hoovering is really, especially if the game ends on your terms and not theirs, they go nuts. So expect full out love bombing, expect full out, by any means necessary, that they're going to try to get back in your life. And what's crazy too is, if you've gone through this cycle before, is they may have every intention of trying to suck you back in, but only to throw you away in like a week or even a month. And because it's not, and if you're in that situation and you're like, well, this really makes no sense. Like, how come they went to all these Herculean efforts to apologize and to get me back, only to break up with me a week later? Well, it's because it's all about power and control, and everything is power and control, and it feeds their ego, right? So if you break up with them, they can get you back, and then they break up with you. Well, guess what? Now the game ended on their terms, and that's what they wanted all along. It's not even about the relationship. It's not even about you. It's them being in charge. So Steve, when that relationship ended, he was trying to talk me into moving back to New Mexico, which is 26 hours away. I did not like living there. Mainly there was a huge lack of water, and I am a water baby. I love Michigan. He'd already schmoozed his way back into his exes, which turns out their divorce never finalized due to a technicality, but he schmoozed his way back into his wife's life, right? And was trying to schmooze me, saying that he loved me, my life was with him, but we were moving too fast, and he was homesick and everything. I was trying to get me to move back to New Mexico, and of course his wife and I are both talking at this point, so we know exactly what's going on. And I'm sitting here thinking, it like that, what a blinding degree of selfishness, right? Like he's trying to get me to move back there just because he wants to keep his wife and his girlfriend in the same state within probably a 20-minute drive, because that makes sense for him. So if you've gone through this before, if you're finding behavior that's lying, cheating, stealing, any behavior too that seems highly manipulative or out of the ordinary, then I would highly suspect that you're probably with a narcissist or an antisocial personality disordered person. These people do not change, and they tend to get worse with age. So really, you need to really examine the standards of behavior that you're allowing for people that are in your life, and to get some high standards. Don't be in a relationship that you wouldn't want your daughter in, or that you wouldn't want your best friend in. Okay, that's a great way to tell if you're really in an unhealthy relationship. And don't confuse commitment with codependency and being in a marriage and being in a manipulation, right? Because these are very different things. Commitment means that the idea of having this blinding level of commitment, like I will be with you no matter what, is very toxic, abused, brainwashed thinking. This is a victim mentality to the nth degree. Whoever started this, and I'm going to start a video series on messed up ideas about love. Whoever started this, I don't think that they meant, I think they meant with normal people with normal behavior, there are normal highs and lows, that a lot of that stuff is workable, but lying, cheating, stealing that keeps repeating and repeating and repeating, that's abuse. And I don't think that they meant that with that saying, right? All relationships go through hell. The good ones make it through. No, that's not necessarily true at all. So I know, believe me, I know. I've worked in a domestic violence shelter for several years, and I've worked with women as old as 85. And these relationships, they do not change. And then it's your whole life. It's your whole life that you're looking at, trying to deal with this person who's just going to be destroying you emotionally and financially and physically and all kinds of different ways. So really examine the kind of behavior that you're allowing yourself, and examine your own boundaries. So if a person does have bad behavior, that you're okay with saying, you know what, that's not okay with me. Like, that's a deal breaker. You're out. And not letting them back in. So I hope that answers the question. If you have any other questions, comments, concerns, frustrations, ideas for videos, you want to share part of your story, you just want to say hi, let me know. My website's down below. It's narcissistsupport.com. You can find me on Facebook. I have a support group there if you'd like to join. It's also called Narcissist Support. And my name is Dana, and I will see you soon. Okay, bye.